Storyblocks Audio. 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 Storyblocks Audio.
All right. I am here. Let me close it up. Morning. No, good morning, Noah. Good evening, guys. Welcome to the last meeting of the year. It's the last meeting of the year. So that means we're moving forward, guys. That means we're getting older and hopefully wiser. That's the idea. So, welcome to the Choose a Change 90-day reentry program. If you are a visitor or new to this program, we welcome you and we are glad you're here. Many of us walked into these rooms not sure what to expect, but many of us stayed because we saw real people with real problems who had real hope. This 90-day reentry program is a self-supported group sponsored by the Choose the Change Foundation. There is no dues or fees to attend this class, but we do encourage donations, which we pass around a donation bucket every class. We do encourage donations from our members and to anyone who believes in what we are doing. The only requirement for membership, and there is a requirement, and that is a sincere desire to change. So if you're ready to change your life, then you are in the right place. Through this program, you will learn the tools and resources to finally change your life forever and inherit a relationship based support system to keep you going. For many of us, there is no easy way out of the mess that we've created in our lives, even if it wasn't your fault. But the good news is that there is a way out. If you choose to believe in the impossible. And many of you are going to have to believe in the impossible, que no? Because man, sometimes life is just not easy. Just not easy. You know, I was going through what I want to do today, just go talk a little bit. See, hopefully you guys can give me some feedback. Do we have a mic? Or maybe you have some questions or input. I was going through because I have all my lessons, all my teachings. I have them throughout the year, and I was going through them, and I thought we'd do a little overview on this last year of the Choose a Change mentoring class. I believe that we're going places, guys. We're going somewhere. I'm going to be really busy this coming year. Hopefully go into more prisons or start going into prisons again. We haven't been going to the prisons. So I think that we need to I want to go into the prisons throughout the state. Because in case you hadn't figured how all this was working, let me show you what I'm doing. So check this out, guys. So imagine you're in this class here, right? And we're talking about change, correct? I'm trying to help you change your life, right? So the whole cycle is that you came from parole, right? Most of you came from parole, right? But where did you come from before that? Prison or rehab, which we're going to start getting more people from rehab, right? So the idea is that people keep going from prison to rehab to the free world, and then they wind up back, and they keep on this cycle, right? That's what we teach. That's what happens. That's what we've learned, that people stay in this cycle, this wicked cycle of a drug addiction or back to drugs, and they just stay in this cycle. Well, the idea that if because here's where I come in, right here, in the parole office. That's where most of you met me, in the parole office. So I caught you in that phase of your life. And that I'm hoping that I'll catch your attention to kind of help you, because once you get out, so you can start learning to live. And then some of you, I caught you at a rehab. Some of you came straight out of prison. So then, if I continue going to prisons, the more I go to prisons, the more people are going to hear about me. So that when they get on parole, they come to the free world, they can come to a class. That's the idea of what I'm trying to do. I didn't create that very good, but you understand why it's important to go to a prison? And who thinks that if I could teach somebody in prison a few things before they get out, it would help them? See, one of the key reasons that I started doing what I'm doing, guys, is because, and I hear this a lot. At first, I didn't realize it or believed it, but I hear it from people when they say, or you might say, or people say that are drug addicts or we've been in prison, like people don't understand us, right? We say that, right? And it's true. So I would hear that, and I said to myself, then I think that if I could make it, if I would become successful, if I could change my life, I could go into a prison, into a rehab center, anybody, in front of anybody that's an ex-convict, ex-drug addict, and I could probably persuade you to believe that I know what I'm talking about because I've been where you've been, right? And that's what wound up happening. I heard a guy once say that I believe, he says, it was T.D. Jakes that was being interviewed. T.D. Jakes. Who knows who T.D. Jakes is? T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes is all you got to do is Google him. You'll know who he is. He's a preacher. And he was being interviewed one time, and he said, they asked him, why do you teach men, black men, about business and about success? And why do you go to the hood? Why do you go to the prisons? And he said, I believe that my people, he was talking about the black community, I believe that if my people could see someone of their own be successful, that then they too could believe that they could be successful, right? And so I took that. I actually read that in a prison cell before I got out of prison. And that stuck in my mind. I said, imagine if I could get out of prison and have some kind of success, right? Make it. Not just stay sober and barely make, no, make it. Then I could share with you that it's possible. And that's exactly what has happened. I'm hoping that I have inspired some of you to believe for a better life. Because you can have a better life. Your life can change. You can do more. You can have more. If you just believe it. It's that simple. But there's some changes we have to make, right? And this is what this class is all about. Helping you make some changes. Helping you make these changes. And what I present, in this class, I teach about the 7 major keys of life change. I came up with these. Not that I came up with them like, they never existed. No, they're out there. You start reading, you start learning, you start educating yourself. You'll start realizing that this stuff is not new. I just put it all together. These are the main things. This is what I call the basics. There's a lot more you have to learn about life. A lot. But if you start here, these are just a few to start on. Your mindset, your philosophy, your attitude, your habits, just those alone. You start working on these alone, these 3 right here, which are the core. Then something starts changing in your life. Who agrees here there's a lot of things in your life that have to change? Is attitude one of them? Okay. Is habits another one? They're huge. This is why I start here. Your lifestyle is huge too. You can't live a certain way and say you're changing your life. You can't do it. So there's a lot to learn in here. And this is why we're doing this. I believe that I've come a long way. Have you? Have you come a long way? All we got to do is keep fighting, man. That's all we have to do, man. Just keep fighting. because I was putting together another message before I put this together. But the reason that I'm standing before you here tonight is not because I know everything, but because I never stopped fighting. I felt like giving up. I felt like the hell with this. I felt like going back to using. I felt like just, sometimes when you just feel like a loser, no matter how hard you try. I felt like, I felt like giving up, but I didn't. I kept fighting. And I'm talking about against ridicule, against people not believing in you, right? Against people that, will never believe in you. People looking down at you. Even, who's ever felt that? And you gotta shake it off. Because nobody has to believe in you, brother. Who has to believe in you? That's it. That's it. And unless you do that, you're not going anywhere. That's a powerful statement. You have to believe in yourself. So I was going through a few lessons that we went through this past year, and I'm going to go through them. You're going to hear me share a lot of same things over and over again. Next month, we're going to start on this process again. I'm going to teach you this process again. We're going to go through it again. Last year, I was, one of the lessons I shared was how do you deal with the problems in your life? There was a lesson I taught. How do you deal with the issues in your life? How do you deal with them? Did you know there's only like three ways? There's only 3 ways I taught that day. You can either do it the world's way, right? And the world's way is through meds and psychiatrists. Sometimes we need those, but that's the world way. Rehabs. You can do it your way. How many have done that before? Yeah, that's the other option. You can do it your way. So you can do it the world's way, you can do it your way, or you can do it God's way. And that's the one I recommend. Because it's a little combination of both. Yes, sir. Give it the mic. Give it the mic.
Like me, I already did it with the war way because I used to go to tropical. I
Okay.
used to get a lot of meds for they diagnosed me with severe depression and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And this time that I went, because the parole sent me that I gotta get evaluated again,
Mm-hmm.
I just told them that my depression, it was because of drug use.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was.
Yeah.
Why? Because I changed all the world way and my way for the God's way.
Yeah.
And that's the one is helping me. It's helping me a lot.
What's God's way?
Yeah.
Amen.
Because I already, desire, I already jumped to faith,
Mm-hmm.
I already changed my lifestyle, but I'm working with my attitude.
You're working on your attitude and your mindset. This
Yeah,
philosophy
mindset.
means mindset.
But mindset, I'm working with that one right now because I know how to make, I got goals in life.
Yeah.
I set up some goals for this month, for next month. Every day I got a goal, but I already got some goals that I'm gonna complete them.
There you go. So you're on your way.
But I asking this one to drive me
Mm-hmm.
for that path, because in my way, I never did anything. Not in my way.
Yep, I know all about it. Yeah, and you said something huge. He said something huge, and this is what I believe in, this philosophy. Because if you go to rehabs, they're not going to tell you this. Or, many of us, I ask this all the time. Let me ask it here again. How many of you know in your heart and mind, you knew what you were doing, and you knew you were the loser, and you just didn't give up? See, that's how we know. We know what we're doing. ¿Verdad? And then we go, and then this is what you did, right? This is what I understood you told me. Then what you did is you go tropical, or they want to evaluate. Yeah, I have this problem, Y luego Time to medication. Yeah, because there is no other solution. If you don't take God, if you don't take your own life, in other words, if you don't take control of your life, you'll hear me say in here a lot. If you don't take control of your own life, somebody else will. Whether it be tropical, whether it be parole, friends, gang members, but somebody will take control of your life if you don't take control of it. And that's how it works. And God allows us to do that. That we went over that. There's only 3 options in life. Another thing we went over last year. This year we went over about the signs of the times, about what's going on in our society. Don't we live in a crazy world today? I'm talking about it's twisted, crazy, unreal. It's crazy, brother. And that's why I teach and preach and challenge men to rise up. Because in this teaching, I was reading it as I was studying today, and I was teaching in this teaching about how we need men and how men need to lead their families. We are the leaders of our society. Did you know that? Because without men, strong men who will believe, have some values, live by some kind of have some kind of character, live by values, have convictions, right, for what's right and what's wrong. Things are happening in our society today that are just nonsense, right? And if you don't stand up for your children, for your marriage, for yourself, your society is going to pull you. Our society is just going to pull you down and make you believe you're nothing. You have no control. Make you believe you're not a man. Make you want to believe you're a woman. But I'm not going to get into all that. Society is twisted, man. You're going to have to decide what side you want to stand on, right? What hill you want to die on. Anybody ever heard that saying before? I'm not willing to die on that hill. You have to, I remember being willing to die in a day room. Willing. All for my homeboys. I remember that, brother. I remember that. And when I became a Christian, I read that did something to me. If I was willing to die for nonsense, why am I not willing to die for my life, for my family, for what's right? And that's why I started seeking truth. What's real? What's real? There's another teaching I taught this year about standing tall. Standing tall, which is the same topic that I'm talking about. There's a book called Standing Tall by Steve Farrar. He says, how a man can protect his family. He said, this book is for men. It's a book on how to protect your family in the midst of a culture hostile to Christian principles. Standing Tall is designed to help you discern the times we're living in, and it is designed to help you give direction. If you are a husband or a father, which if you're a man here, that's what you are, a husband or a father, then you are leading your family through a moral chaos in this culture. The very survival of your family depends on your leadership. Our wives depend on us. They want to depend on us. They want to be able to trust us. See, I didn't understand that stuff. Just that statement alone. Let me repeat it. Our wives want to depend on us. They want to know you're there. They want to trust us. I didn't know that. I had to learn that. I also was talking about this year. You'll hear me talk a lot. Even this year, you're going to hear me talk about this coming year about seeking and asking and knocking. What was this? Building a solid foundation. It was called Building a Solid Foundation. I started earlier, the way I started, I said, the reason I'm standing here before you today, 27 years later, is because I didn't quit, right? But let me tell you what I didn't quit and what I continued doing. I didn't quit and I continued searching for answers. Like we're all searching for answers, right? We're trying to figure out, you're trying to figure things out. Okay, that's how life works. You got to keep searching. In the mountain, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus spoke in Matthew 7 and 8. Matthew 7 and 8. It's a Sermon on the Mount. You got to read it in your own time in Matthew. This is where Jesus, he said in Matthew 7 and 8, he said, seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Ask and you shall receive. And then he tells you why. Because everybody that seeks, what? Finds. Everybody that knocks, the door is open. And everybody that asks, to him it is given. The principle here is that it's not going to happen automatically. You got to keep on doing it. You got to keep on knocking. You got to keep on seeking. When you fail, you got to get up and keep going. When you don't find answer, you got to keep on knocking. Anybody ever been a salesman? I learned this in sales. He says it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. The more people you ask, the better chance you have of making a sale. That's how it works. So this is why I've been able to be successful in what I'm doing. Not because I haven't failed. I'm still making bad decisions. But I'm learning and growing. And I'm not quitting. Keep on seeking. Keep on seeking. Another teaching I did was what does the 30, 60, 90-day plan mean and include? The 90-day challenge. The 90-day challenge that I give people, I didn't come up with that. Who's ever heard of that before? 90 days of doing something. Who's ever heard of that before? That's a principle. That's actually a principle came out in business. And the idea is that I don't have all the scientific analysis about it, but there's something about doing something for 90 days, right? Or 60 days, or 30 days. There's something about it. There's something involved there. There's a commitment. There's an expectation that something's going to happen within a certain time frame. The AA program does the 90-day. Who's ever heard that before? You go to AA, I'll never forget. I went to AA. I'd fallen flat on my face. I never thought I'd go use drugs again, and I did. Oh man, it just devastated me. Fall flat on my face. So let me give you an example of not giving up. Because for us drug addicts, and almost everybody in here is a drug addict. The men. Las girls me comenzaron a mirar, what? No, it's wicked stuff, man. We know this, right? If you're a drug addict, you know that. It's wicked, man. It's wicked. And then relapsing and using again is just wicked, man. It's so hard. And I remember falling flat on my face. But I wanted to change. I wanted it so bad, and that's the key. Desire. That's the key. Don't lose it. And it just feels like you feel like crap because you want it so bad. And I remember falling flat on my face. Went to a detox for 5 days. During this detox, I'm evaluating. I'm thinking, well, what in the world happened to me? How did this happen? Got introduced to AA. Went to AA. I remember going through this process. And I remember a guy coming up. Remember, we're talking about the 90 days deal. I remember the guy coming up to me and saying, hey, I'll help you. He says, do you want to change your life? Or no, do you want to stay sober? I said, yeah. Then he asked me again, are you sure you want to stay sober? I said, yeah. Then he asked me again, are you sure you want to stay sober? Yeah, by that time I'm like, yeah, man, ¿qué onda? Sí, I think que sí. I don't know, you get angry, right? You get like, yeah. And that's how I felt, because we don't like nobody telling us what to do or how to act. But I learned in AA, I better mind. You will mind if you want to stay sober. That's why I say, you're going to mind. You're going to have to, if you want to change your life, you got it. There's some things you must do. And I learned that in AA. He said, okay, I'll help you. I just have 3 requirements. I said, okay, what are they? Tell me. Because I'm the kind of guy, just tell me what to do, right? Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. He said, okay, I want you to call me every day before 9 o'clock. That's where the challenge I put together comes from. After you read your proverb, after you read this, me un libro, read this, and this, every day call me and text me. All right, I can do that. To text them first. And they said, I want you to read this every day. He gave me that to readings. And then he said, I want you to come to 90 meetings in 90 days. Who's ever been told that? Nobody told me. And I stopped. I said, 90 meetings? 90 days? Le dije, what do you mean? Me said, 90 meetings in 90 days. He said, we have meetings every day here. So then I need you to come to 90 meetings every day. At 7 o'clock, I want you to be here every day. I said, every day? And here's what he got me. Watch. Here's what he got me. He asked me, he says, what's wrong with that? Didn't you say you wanted to stay sober? I said, yeah, but every day? He said, did you use every day? He got me there. But you see the logic? I said, and for the first time, that was the first time someone made me click in my mind, just a little bit. I said, wow, that makes sense. Porque para hacer lo que yo quiero todos los días está fácil, ¿verdad? Yeah, that's easy. Anybody can do that. But to do something that you need to do. So I did it. I did it for 90 days. And then I did it for another 90 days. And then another 90 days. The idea of the 90 days is because it's the idea that it's not the 90 days itself. It's what you're going to hopefully learn in these next 90 days. It's the relationships you're going to build in these next 90 days. You're giving yourself a chance to make progress. That's how it works. And a 90-day challenge usually includes like a vision for your future, a better future. It includes goals and objectives. It includes a success. You have goals that you're going to reach, certain little goals. In fact, we're going to do a goals in January because we're going to start new. I did a teaching on pressing on. Who remembers that one? Anybody remember that? Why it's so difficult to change. I was just going over how there's some things in life that life is hard. But life is hard for everyone, not just us, not just you. So when I'm going through hard times, and I know I just need to continue to press on. The Apostle Paul said, I press on toward the goal of the high calling of God. That's what he said. The can-do attitude. Who's ever heard of the can-do attitude? We're going to need it. You're going to need it. You know how you wire yourself up? And you just, I'm going to make this happen. That's the can-do attitude. That's the can-do attitude. Sometimes you have to just, I don't know what it takes, but you have to get that inside of you. It's spirit. It's a spirit. In the Bible, I in this teaching, I talk about Caleb. Caleb had a can-do attitude. Joshua and Caleb. They took the land. They were the only two that went into the promised land that God had promised. Because they had the can-do attitude. They had faith. They had believed against all odds. Against all odds. We have to keep believing. Right? And many of us, you're still against all odds. You're fighting. The good news is all of a sudden you arrive. I remember one day I just woke up one day and I'm like, wow. I look back. I said, wow, I've arrived. I'm serious. That's exactly what happened to me. Wow. I'm not that vato loco forever anymore. I'm serious, dude. Because we're so, you have a persona, you have a perspective of yourself. You look at yourself in the mirror and you know where you come from. You know what you've done. You know what you're doing. You know what you're thinking. And only you know that. And that's why you're against all odds, because really you're fighting against you. And I remember thinking to myself one day, man, the monster is dead. The monster is dead. He's gone. Now, not that he can't revive. Don't get me wrong. Right? Because he comes knocking once in a while. But he knows he can't come in anymore. But one day, the Bible talks about grabbing it doesn't say it like this, but this is my version. Grabbing the bull by its horns. But the Bible talks about, ese para sembrar, what do you call that? The plow. He says, no man who takes his hands off the plow is worthy of the kingdom of God. In other words, the idea is that you have to take the plow, put your head down, and plow. And don't get up. Don't stop. You just keep plowing forward. And that's what I did. I kept plowing and plowing, reading and reading, praying and praying, believing and believing, and keep on going. I just kept on going. And I kept getting hit, and I kept falling down, but I kept on going. And before you know it, I'm like, wow, wait a minute. I'm 50 years old. I'm 60 years old. And I'm like, wow. Now I can continue building. But unless you don't, if you quit, you'll never get there. There's some things that you'll never see. There are some things you'll never understand if you quit. But let me tell you, when you get there, you'll be so glad that you didn't quit. I'm so glad I didn't quit. It's not worth it. Especially as you get older. I'm turning 61 in January. Ahí viene. Déjale digo el día para que me hagan happy birthday. Ay, señor, ayúdame. The 25th, ándale. What is that a Thursday? Is that a Thursday? Hijo de su. I'm not going to be here, guys. You know where I'm going? No, no. You know where I'm going at the beginning of the year? Disneyland. I'm going to do a revival. Y'all know I'm an evangelist, right? Did you know that? Do you know I'm an evangelist? I'm an evangelist. Get to preach all over the world. Powerful. But at the beginning of the year, I'm going to go do a revival. It's a grand opening for a new church for a guy named Andrew Zapata. Now, if you knew Andrew, if you know anything about Andrew Zapata, you never would have thought. You know where I met Andrew Zapata? In prison. When I started Choose the Change about 10 years ago, I started going into the prison here in Lopez Unit, in Segovia. And I went in there on fire, man. Challenging men. And Andrew Zapata, I remember he'd walk in with his white jumpsuit. You know how you have that white jumpsuit? And he'd sit right there. There was a class like this. And he'd always sit right there or right there. He was the first one there. And he was on it, man. He had desire. And he said, Salinas, I'm going to be out there, man. I'm going to come to your church, man, when I get out. Sure enough, man, a year later, he came out. And here he came out, locked into the church. Here we are 10 years later. And now he's pastoring in Chicago. Isn't that crazy? There's so much more you can do with your life, man, you wouldn't believe. It's amazing what God can do to a surrendered life. That's just a principle. That's just how it works, guys. That's just how it works. Does anybody have any questions here? Any comments? Why don't we pass around our donation bucket? Does anybody have any comments? Any thoughts about what has happened here in the last few months or weeks for you? Anybody? Hugo?
I kind of have an idea of how, but I don't exactly like want to pinpoint, like, because I deal with this every day. That I have a lot of those things going on, but the attitude is where I kind of just sometimes slip because in my job place I have to have a lot of patience, and it's just like sometimes se me zafa, right? Que le digo, nombre, because they make me having to do things in their time, and I like to do things in my time, and that's where I bump heads. But I do it. But I sometimes have the attitude like let him wait a little bit. I let him wait. So how did you do it so you could kind of like, I don't know, get your attitude better, and in your perspective, how would that help?
That's a good one. But I think I know how. It's I learned that um, it's just little things, and I get even I started working at it even more in my driving. I was just trailing my wife the other day. Esta se enoja luego porque, okay, espérate, hombre. But I've worked on my attitude in my driving. Can anybody know why? No, crazy drivers. Pero pues I'm a crazy driver too. I mean, I would think so, right? Yo no creo que soy santito tampoco. So when people cut in front of me or they're too slow or como los que están en la light, que se pone verde y tú estás atrás de ellos y ahí están y todos los demás ya se fueron. Beep! I don't do that. I just wait. Yeah. Pero for me, it's interesting you asked that question, but that's how I've learned to to manage my anger or my flesh. That's how I've done it. To work on it. And it helps. It helps. ¿Para qué me voy a enojar? Otro segundo y ya me fui. It's not worth it. But I work on it. I work on it, brother. Now that you've pinpointed something, work on it. That's how you do it. You work on it. Kind of like this lesson I taught on the seasons of life. We all have seasons. Did you know that we live in seasons in life? That life is like the seasons. We have spring, we have summer, we have winter, we have fall. And you have to go through them all. You can't choose and pick and choose. We have to go through the seasons of life. We have some good seasons, we have some bad seasons, right? We all do. That's just how life works. You know what? And I'll end with this because I really like this because a lot of what I teach, I learned from a man named Jim Rome. You haven't heard me say that a lot. His name was Jim Rome. And he talks about the seasons of life. He talks about the setting of the sails. And I really like the way he teaches how life and business is like the seasons of life. The spring and the summer are awesome. But the fall and the winter are coming, which means you have to get prepared. You know what the ant does in the summer? He prepares. You ever seen ants? You have to get the attitude of an ant. You ever seen an ant? No los paras para nada los ants. Le pones un block y le rodean y siguen. Right? There's something to learn about from ants. We can learn a little something from the ants. They don't give up. Y si te dejas, te pican. You can't change the seasons, guys. And you can't rearrange them either. You must deal with them as they come. So, you have to deal with them. Did you know that, one of the things I learned early from Jim Rome was that which is where the name Choose a Change comes. I came to the realization that life is all about choices. It's all about choices. I heard that for years. Who've heard that before? I remember hearing that when I was in school. I mean, no hice caso, ¿verdad? Pero I heard it. They've been trying to teach me that for years. Choices. Choices of friend, choices of habit, choices of attitude, choices of relationship, choices. Choices of doing right or wrong. It's all about choices. We have a choice. If you don't like where you're at the moment in life, you can change it. You don't have to stay there. But anyway, I think it's been a great year. I'm ready for the new year. Anybody have any goals for the new year? Yeah? Would anybody want to share a goal that you have for the new year?
My driver's license.
There you go.
Getting my driver's license.
Have you ever had a driver's license?
Never in my life.
How old are you?
50. I started driving when I was 13. I had my own car, but when I was 13.
And you never get a license?
Never. I'm 62.
There you go. Yeah. And simple goals. Next month, I'm gonna do a goals setting session, and we're gonna make some goals. Goals are awesome because one of the first things in this process, guys, you can continue doing it. It's just a continual process. You're always working on your attitude. You're always working on your mindset. You're always working on your habits. There's some new habits that you want to start developing. And then there's some old habits that you have to let go of, right? That's how it works. And you start building. You start building upon better habits. So then in January, I'm going to do a little goal session together so that you can take it with you. But what I want to do, every year I do it, and then we look at it. Sometimes I forget to look at them, but hopefully we won't forget this year. I want to write some goals down, and then in June, come June, 6 months, we'll see where we're at. And because I have some goals también that I have. I want to, because I'm just like you. I'm moving forward in life, dealing with my issues, dealing with my finances, dealing with my life, dealing with my ministry, with my business. I have deals I have to deal with too. We're just in different levels, all of us, that's all. Different situations, but we're all climbing out. If you want to climb out. So guys, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I just wanted to go over some things as we meditate and think about this coming year. I don't know what you're going to do for New Year's, but I'm going to eat a lot. Yeah? And I know someone else is going to eat a lot. Anybody else have anything to say? Anything want to share before we leave? Before we close the year? Before we say thank you, farewell, we'll see you next year. That's all we have. Thank you for watching. God bless you.